Okay, guys, back with you here on the 26th here, and I was very close in the polling. I asked you guys to break the tie, and Amazon got the number of votes here required here. So this will be our second look at it here. And this is a challenging count. I can understand why you guys were curious here. So now I've done a couple of things here. I'm going all the way back to the '09 low. I'm wicking that off here, and what's interesting is when you put them in perspective, right? When we pull all the way out, it looks like it's nothing. But this was a fairly, that's quite a rip, right? So from the '09 low here, what's marked this is that the very shallowness of the retracement. So even if I'm just kind of going through and wicking off the significant lows in terms of retracements, just in the context of trying to identify where we have swing candidates. This is not uncommon. We see this in Amazon, right? It's just the market does not want to give us depth of retracement here. We do have one decent retracement here, which we get here in the December sell-off, but of course just like the S&P, right? It's quick, just a V bottom, right? That's all we get, right? Straight down, straight back up, right? And now we've got a double top, right? Funny how that happens. Oh, I never noticed it did that, right? If you complete the triangle. So that we have a perfect triangle here, just a perfect V bottom into a double top. Never noticed it did that before. Okay, all right. So anyway, I think the point being here, I want to work from this 2014 low, because this is where I think we get a count that we can work with. Now we do have a bit of a trouble spot up here, but yet again here. So looking at this is at least we get from the swing low here to our swing high, at least we get to the 50 here. So in terms of trying to identify where the swings are, I'm always looking for, is there any place where we got to a 50? So off of this low, I can get a count here that makes sense. So a very clear ABC in that. So I get my swing up, excuse me, swing 3 down, and then yet again, it looks like 1, 2, but this, much as I'm going to show you guys here, this tendency for these 2s to be very shallow here. So yet again, there's a 38. 12%, right? Very strong market. Let's get that up there. To only make the 38, right? What's stronger than Amazon, right? So up we go, and then we don't get another decent retracement until we get to this point. So from 1, 2, you'd have to go 1, 2, 3. Here's the deepest retracement to give us the 4, 5 of the third. Now, again, it's relatively shallow here. All right, so into the third. That's not atypical. That's very common for a wave forward to be between 23 and the 38. Now up we go, so that's still got more legs. Just a brief pause here at first algo target. So likely it's working off of swing relationships more typical to an Elliott count. So if we take the length of the 1 and project it from the pivot of the 4, we're pushing through the 1618, coming up shy of the 200. It's nothing that's quite to the tick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can get 5 in the 5th of the third here as I'm proposing it. Now this is where it starts to get tricky coming down here. Right? This is open to interpretation. This is just the kind of area where, as I'll often tell you, 5 Elliotticians may give you 5 different counts in here. As I just show you, the one thing that we can see here clearly is that this sell-off is quickly absorbed and rejected. Right? So down we go. Now, it's a question of how are you going to count the V. So as I see it, I can get 5 down here, and we get an impulse. Now you could, if you break it down, it gets a little harder to do this here, but you can make a case here that maybe the 5 is here, but then the impulse it starts to break down. So for this to work, you're again into an expanded B wave to give you your 3 here into the ABC of the B at the larger degree. Those occur more than you'd think, right? So here we come. Now, why else do I like that? So from the pivot to the top, if this is my pivot here, I'm getting a double top at the 50 and I get algo target. If this is the 5, right? If you were to be working, thinking the A is here, I still get, I'm in the sell zone here, but I come up shy of the algo target, which makes me think this is more likely what was used so it's tried, fails, back to the 50, sells again. Now we get in with a little juice to get through to make sure the algos get filled. So then from there, it's straight up. Now here, actually, this is the more difficult part of the count because it defies the typical geometry you'd be anticipating. So what do we have here? Is this a 5 or is it perhaps a 3? So if you're making the assumption that this is the 4 as I am here, that we have our correction here relative to, well, let me pull back out this shit. I guess I got to go back to the daily. All right, so let's work from that 2 low. So I should have done this here. So from my 2 through my 3. All right, so I mean, there is, I suppose there's a case you could make that from this 1, 2, you could have completed, so the 5 could be in over here, and this would be yet another 1, 2, but I'm reluctant to go there because I don't think we're done here yet. So because I can get the clear 5 here, if this is 1, 2, 3, now this is deep-ish for a wave 4 to go that far, but we hold the 50. And again, it's also very common to retrace to the degree lower to the prior 3, 4. Now, yeah, we get a little through it, but that would be an area that we would anticipate a typical reaction. Now, it's fairly deep here. And we've got a very shallow 4, relatively speaking, of this impulse here. So I'm inclined to keep the 4 here until proven otherwise, because I suppose you can make a case here that you had some sort of a correction going in here that would be deeper here. But until we see that, and then you just kind of think of it, just common sense. We're going into the holidays. I mean, Amazon, I'm sure they'll set records again. I mean, shit, we're right in Black Friday, or as I've reminded you guys, we're right in Black Friday here, so they're selling everything they can. I'd be shocked if we don't have another record-selling holiday season from Amazon. So I'm more inclined to stick with the 4 here. Again, I know that can be proven wrong, certainly, but until we see evidence of it, I think you've got to stick with that. So that would imply that if this is the 4, well, coming off of that, now here's where it gets tricky. This is that changing? Feels like it's not changing. Here, let's do it this way. Okay, so now to an 8 hour. This is the bit that's, I'd be willing to bet 5 Elliotticians give you 5 different counts there. I'm inclined to go with a diagonal. Now, what's the problem? Now, purists are going to hate that because we don't have the right kind of shape for this. So we don't have an expanding diagonal or a contracting diagonal. We have something that looks more. It takes the shape more of an impulse, but I don't think you can make it work. I think you've got to go with the A, B, C here of the 3, because if this is our 4 and this is our 1, yet again you have kind of this chop here. So this looks like, again, it's another expanded B wave there. It just, what is it, right? It's very hard to have any confidence as to what the hell we've got here, right? Could be this, could be that. To get 3 into it, so what it would mean is, of course, another very shallow wave 2. But with I'm using this secondary pivot to try and accommodate this, but still with the depth of that. So even here, right? We still, oh shit, does that do it? Yep, still does it. Like we still, even if we use the lowest pivot here, and you were trying to think of some sort of something really wonky here to give you the best potential, right? You can't go back here, right? So maybe here still breaks. I think you got to go 3 into an A. This is your B, and you got to live with the 2. I don't see another way to count it. This is the deepest retracement we have from this low to this. This is the only thing we get that's got any depth to it. So we look here. Yet again, right? It doesn't quite make the 50, which you'd anticipate. That's what you'd want to see in a diagonal. And but then we don't have the wave relationship that you'd like. So we have 1 is longer than 3 and 3 is longer than 5, but it doesn't look like a contracting. It's not a. It doesn't look like a diagonal, a contracting diagonal here. That, I mean, it looks more like an impulse, but the count doesn't support it with the overlap here. So I think you're just stuck with it. See, you got to just live with it. And so again, this would be an ABC here. You'd have to work that as your ABC into the 5 here. It's not gorgeous. I know it, right? I can see it. But based on I don't think it looks corrective. I mean, you'd be trying to play it as an A, B, C into a B, but then we'd be anticipating if that were the B, this doesn't play right, and so then you'd be anticipating that, oh, if that were ABC, we'd be starting into a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the C going into the holidays on Amazon. I know our sales are not earnings, but we don't have another earnings report for a while here. Just the seasonal tendency, what's going on in the broader market. I don't want to short Amazon in here. But I don't really like this as a buy per se. So even if we're just forced to live with the diagonal into the proposed 1 here, so at the degree higher, if we got to live with that as a 1 and maybe 2, let's go. You got to put them somewhere. Let's get these up to something larger here. So if we let me change that color. Let's go to green here. So if we go to a 1 here, well, coming out of the chute here, even if I go down to a 3 hour, it's hard to argue with the 5 here. So it's a question of, if this is the forward, God, do we have to live with that as the 5? Just that little. So what's the alternate? The alternate would be, and I considered this, so let me pull this up. The alternate would be that the 5 was here, and we had the 3, 4, 5 here. Yeah, I looked at it. So if that were the case, right, so then you'd be thinking that the A had just gone in here. Now, right, so look here. So we're going to go B, C? I don't think so. So I think we're stuck with kind of shitty Elliott here is what I think we've got. I think we got to live with this. I think we got to live with the completed impulse here, even though I know I don't like it either. You can get, that's the problem here, you can get 5 here. But then, so if you put the A, if you put the A here, B, what are we going to do when we break that? Right? I don't think it plays. Right? You can't. So then you're putting. So you'd be going A, B, C. That symmetry would just be horrific. Right? There's no way that's what we have. So I think you're stuck with the ABC here until proven otherwise. Now, if there was a sell-off for some reason, we might be back here reconsidering. God, do you have to live with it that way? So you might, that might work better. So you have this, which is oddly shaped, right? Same kind of thing. Like it goes down and immediately is rejected. So even that, of course, the symmetry is horrible there. Here, so if this is A, B, very, very truncated C. So now you're forced to put the 2 here. So what you have again is a very shallow wave 2, right? So same thing, right? We run into it here. This very well could be, right? If we take this high out, then we're going to have to live with this. So from the swing low to the swing high, yet again, we don't make the 50 here, if that's the 2. Can't say I love it, but I do not want to be shorting Amazon. So you don't have a lot. Then see here, I would start looking. Is there any geometry here I can lean into? It's not great. So maybe we go to shift and see if the lower parallel. You see, it's too far. As soon as you go to the secondary, even modified shift, that's just going to be worse. So you're stuck with original here, and we have a failure to make them. We're using kind of an unusual selection of pivots here, but like the only thing that we can use to give us something that's pointing down. I mean, you could maybe get something really wonky like this. I'll look at all kind of combinations here. So as we're breaking the lower parallel here, but I mean, a long way off from the median line, so I don't think that really helps us much here. So I think we're stuck with this. We're kind of stuck with this 1. I know. I'm curious how a purist would count that. I don't see an alternate that you could have any confidence in. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in that as the 2. Because if that's the 2, so first we got to deal with this giant wick here. So I think you got to be watching for this. If this pivot breaks, you might just be stuck with a 3 here. So there could be more complexity going in here. We could have something a little bit bigger going on, but that would be what hard to bet against that. So just looking at it in terms of the degree of confidence you'd have here, I would be a little bit cautious, right? I mean, you want to be a buyer, right? Until we see something deeper, you're kind of stuck with this. So we'd have one, right? The proposed two going in here. So already I'd be putting I got the 1.5 on that. I'd be putting the 1.25 in there as well. See if I catch it here. So here's my 1.25 runner coming up here. Now I'd put a little alert on that. If we get through that, then I think you're kind of stuck with this. Ooh, bummer. That was just getting to the good part. Well, this is for all the people that skip all of the beginning 3/4 of the video and just get right to the end to see what the conclusion is and if there's a trade. So I wouldn't want you guys to miss this. Well, so just in case you're not a Twitter follower or didn't watch the NASDAQ or some of the crypto yesterday, I just want to make sure that you know that we're offering this. So we've got our own little Black Friday deal going off. So 30% on your monthly, 35 on a 3-month, and 40% on a 6-month. That's the big savings there on the 6-monther. So just wanted you to be aware of it, right? You can always go over to our Twitter feed. You can always write us here. You can write us on YouTube. You can write us go to our website and just send us a note, or just DM us on Twitter if you have questions about this. Because we have people, members from all over the world, and we had some people had questions about it. Some of the crypto stuff is a little tricky, where Web Designer did it. We have a whole new launch of our platforms coming at the end of the year, so some of that will be changed. But I wouldn't want you to be confused about how to take advantage of this. So if you're interested, at least you know this is going to be going on all week. Okay, guys, back to the video. So maybe you've got a very odd little diagonal going here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get that sub-micro here. We'll go to yellow so we can see it. All right, so 1, 2, or maybe, right? That would get you up here. 3, 4, 5. Skinny. I know it. Right, I can see why you guys want to look at this. So here would be, now that's about as far, well, here's the 3, or here's the 1, 6, 1, 8. The 2, 6, 1, 8, about as far as I'd project for that to go. Here's still an original. Shift not going to be dramatically better, but at least we get the lower parallel here. But shift, that's implying weakness, or it's something that I would look in a correction. I'd be going back and forth between the two. So this is making it very steep. It could be that we're too steep. If we go here, so looking here, if that's going to go 1, 2, we're going to get up to some of these upper levels here. That would be a function of the 1, 2 holding here. If we're going to go up and get a 3 here, so this would be, if this is the 4, this is 1, 2, we'd be in the 3 of the 5. Shit, with Amazon, this could be the 1, 2 of the 1. I mean, there's just no telling here. So wick off that, right? There'll be stops there that they couldn't get here. Interesting, right? They couldn't get stops there. Down it goes. Now rebase here, and it looks like I would not get short. I wouldn't do it. All right, into the holidays. So I think, so you're a little late here on the buy. You're stuck with this ugly ABC but there's nothing really else to work with here unless something else comes out of this. If we get something, we get up here and then we sell down, and there's a retrace here, and then we could reframe this. Right now, I think you got to stay long until proven otherwise. So I would anticipate something along those lines to get us up here, which would put us in toward, we're going into the new year. So barring it's just like I said with the NQ, barring the unforeseen event, geopolitical, political, some Trump craziness, I mean, just barring that, you just got to stay with the trend, right? So every retrace has been an opportunity, and they have been shallow, so they've been difficult technically. But right now, you could buy this right now with a tight stop. You'd be under this pivot. Or do it with options, right? I'd give yourself plenty of time. I'd be looking at March of 2020 options minimum, so that you're not eaten up with time decay. So here's your important pivot. As long as this hold, well, that would be the framing. That's consistent with the median lines here. As long as this pivot holds, 80% is intact, right? We're going up to get that median line. All right, guys, it's a tricky one, right? No question about it, but does anybody want to short that? Anybody want to short that going into the holiday season? I think it'll be fewer sellers than buyers. How about we say it that way? All right, guys. All right, have a good one. Talk to you later.